All right, we are live. We are live. All right, today we are talking about the presence of what we call Black people in the Americas before the slave ships arrived. I'm an American, and my grandmother told me that I was an American. She told me about our indigenous heritage. We have photographs of our people many generations ago who, again, we're indigenous, but we have photographs of our people from many generations ago that are indigenous, and it's on both sides, my mother and my father's side. So today I'm going to go over some of the images that I have on social media, and I've gone over some of this on a previous broadcast, but I wanted to go over this just one more time to give it its own space. So you see here, this is from a book. So this is an image of Black Americans as the indigenous people of America. You see, this is right here. What the image that I have right now is zoomed in on a map created by Arnold Arnold Montimus, and I'm going to show you his book is in the Library of Congress. He wrote his book in the 1500s. Let me share the other screen to show you some of the information that I'm looking up. Oh, here before I do that, let me go through some of the photographs. So you see, I'll have the date on another one of these pictures. Okay, this is the here. This is the map that was zoomed in. That I just showed you the zoomed in part, but this is the map. This is the old map. You see, Florida was being called a large stretch of land. Was a large stretch of land, and here's Virginia, and then Canada above this region. Let's see. This is another map that he made where it's zoomed in. The book was written in the 1500s, to my memory. As soon as I'm able, I'll pull that information up. Here you see Virginia and Florida. So these are the indigenous people of Virginia and Florida. You'll see that their color is even darker than mine. Some of their colors are, some of their color is the same as mine. You see there's different hair textures. If you look at this individual towards the bottom right, you'll see that the hair seems to be more straightened. It's either straightened or it's locked. And then if you go up and to the left, you see that the hair is in an afro, or like how most of our hair grows into a curl pattern. This is not from the same book, but this is an image that I forgot the date, but this is an image that has been passed around the internet for some time. These are the Olmecs. So this is a colossal head. It's called, well, yeah, the people are called the Olmec. And you see the nose structure is of what has been classified as Negroid. You see the lips. Even the eyes, it's not it's not particularly shaped like some Asians. And yeah, let's and these are said to be the first people in the Americas, according to different historians. This here is from the emblem of America. Is this in the library? I don't know if this is in the Library of Congress, but I think that this is. Um, I think that's the location. It says date. The date is 1798. It was published in, okay, it was published in 1801, but it was created in 1798. It looks like, and this is a indigenous woman. You see again her skin tone. This is um, this is Montezuma, and you see the image. Not many people have seen an image of Montezuma that looks like this. If we read down here, the title is Montezuma X. Let's see. So it looks like it was created in 1671. Okay. And Montezuma, where was Montezuma? I'm looking up what location was Montezuma. I know it's just south of here, or not very far south of here. Okay, Montezuma was an Aztec emperor of Mexico. So Montezuma is of Mexico. So then this is what the original Mexicans look like. But let me go back. The image of Montezuma. And then so we look like this in all the Americas. And one simple way to know that this is true without doing a whole lot of back and forth research is that we can't get skin cancer. But all the people who say that they're Native American, that look Asian, and white, they look Asian and European, like a mixture of that. They can get skin cancer. And that's one way that we know that they're not the indigenous people here in America. You're not indigenous to a place that you can't survive. And they have, just a small amount of the indigenous blood. That's what gives them the color. But everything else is foreign. That's what. Okay, so having some of the blood of Montezuma, that's some of my blood, the melanin, gives them some color. But then being mixed with Asian and European albinizes the color, or bright, or decolors the person, or takes away, decreases the amount of pigment that they have. Then we have, this is in South America, and you'll see the kings. Okay, let me see if we can zoom up. Okay, let's see this image. Okay. All right, let me make sure that this is zoomed up. Okay, yes, it is. All right. Okay, so okay, you see this. Here are the brown people who are the rulers of this part of South America. I'm trying to remember exactly the empire. So I think this is the Inca. And you see they're all the North or South Americans. They're all brown. And then it comes to the point where the Moors from Europe, this is when the Moors from Europe came to South America, and married into the family. And you see, it starts with the brown, more of Europe, and at some point, it becomes Europeans, like the what we call Europeans, or the albinoid Europeans, or what we call white people, towards the. This is in Peru, apparently, Del Peru, I think. Okay, but yeah, you see, even the Moors in Europe were brown. You see, this is King Charles. I think it's Charles V. Yeah, Charles Quinto. That's what I'm reading down here. Okay. This is not in the book that I mentioned. This is also not in that book, The New and Unknown World by Arnold Montimus. This is a separate image. This is from Eastern Island. You see, they have fezzes. They made sure that the rock, if I remember, I'm not sure exactly. I don't know if this is. Well, let me not say what type of rock it is because I can't quite remember. But you see that these are shaped as fezzes, and they went through. The indigenous people here went through a lot of effort to make sure that there was a fez on the head, to make sure that, well, one, there's a monument, and for people generations down to know who they are and remember who they are. This is the Mayans, if I remember this correctly. And you see inside the one of their areas of what they call one of the areas of worship, you see all the people. You can zoom in. All the people are brown. See? So it makes sense when we argue that the people here look like us and we are the same people. This is in South America, but in South America and in North America, we traveled back and forth. We were an empire and we were the same people. You know, of course, we have different tribes, as we might call them. And then that's another thing. Like in Ghana, I don't know if there was 2,000 tribes or something, or I don't know, it was something ridiculous. It was a lot of, or let me not say ridiculous. It was a high number of ethnic groups, a very large number of ethnic groups. And it's in every country, there's a large number of ethnic groups. The same, and they still all look the same, similar, you know, they all have melanin. And here in America, let's see, let me get back to, and here in America, we also have different ethnic groups. So when you come to Florida, you see that the people look a little different than in Georgia, which is just the next state up, who look different than the people in Virginia, and they also look different from the people who are in North Carolina. That's right along the coast, and all these people, it's different tribes. The people from Ohio, where I'm from, look different. I'm from Ohio and South Carolina, or one of the Carolinas. I think North Carolina and Georgia, and I'm trying to remember where some of my other line is in the Americas. But yeah, so and then the people in Florida look different. The Black Americans I'm referring to. Just talking about, we have different tribes and we look a little bit different. But you'll notice that the Black Americans in the Caribbean island, the people from the islands, I was told by one of the American islanders that he preferred not to be called Caribbean because the term came from cannibalism, or the yeah, the term means cannibal. So the American islands, they look so similar to us because we're the same people. And we in the Americas look different from the Africans because we are different enough. We are more the same in the Americas than we are with the Africans. And it just makes sense given the proximity and also again, given the history that we see of all the brown people being in the Americas. All right, so let's get back here. This is another colossal head, and this is you see the nose, how wide the nose is. This isn't the modern European nose, right? This is also not the modern what has been called the Native American, who is simply a European. Um, but you see, this nose is needed to be in this environment. You see, look at the environment behind this colossal head. These these type of plants, these leaves, that means that it's in a warm environment, a particularly warm environment. You need a wide nose as far as on a large scale. Our people in general would have to have larger noses to breathe in the hotter air, which is also they call it is thicker, and it has more oxygen content. It's there's more content. There's more air content, or the gases that make up air. And so, in order to breathe it in, we need a more surface area. And then in cold areas, like where there's snow on the ground all year long, or snow on the ground for a long period of time, you don't want to breathe in a large portion of air very fast. So then the nose will be elongated and what do you call this when it's like tapered, or not just tapered, but thinner to so that it doesn't hurt you when you breathe in the cold air. I'm sure you remember when you might remember breathing in cold air in the morning or during the winter, and that if you breathe in through your nose too quickly, how it affects you and how it hurts. This is inside the temple, another portion of the temple or another temple. You see again the skin tone of the people. And now let's see what the hair texture of the people is. Can we gather anything from this that shows the hair texture? Looks like their hair is covered up. That's interesting. Okay, it's interesting. Wait, here's somebody. What texture? This looks like, and this looks like it could be the same texture as my hair. Oh, okay. Now let's go. Okay, so this is um, this is a type of tobacco. When I worked over at a gas station, I was working at a gas station, and I um, I was the cashier, and a older European gentleman, albinoid, he had come to the store, and he asked for Red Man. Um, and Red Man is a type of tobacco. I think this is the one where I think this is chewing tobacco. Let me see real quick. Red Man tobacco. It's chew. Yeah, it's chewing tobacco. That's correct. Okay, what I'm reading, it says, Red Man Tobacco Chew, um, now rebranded as America's Best Chew, is a traditional American chewing tobacco brand known for its leaf tobacco and long-standing history since 1904. All right. So the guy came in and he asked for Red Man, but it had been changed to, and he knew it had been changed. But like sometimes they like to come in and like give you information or kind of quiz you or something. Um, so sometimes some Europeans that have knowledge, uh, they this is how they relay the knowledge. So he came and he was talking about how things have changed. Well, first he asked for Red Man, and then I was told, oh, it's been rebranded to America's Best Chew, and so I gave him that, and then he had a conversation about how things have changed and how um, like this was changed because they were saying that it was racist, that some things were racist, and he didn't really give me all the information. He didn't tell me about this image. He just said enough to where I researched it myself and seen that, okay, this is why he was saying that they changed the image, and he was frustrated about the image being changed. I can't remember the exact words that he was saying, but it was still coded to where someone else wouldn't have looked the information up to see, well, what did the image look like. But I looked it up, and you see how wide this nose is. And so this is the imagery that is on different advertisement all throughout the history of the United States of America. The United States of America is not the entity America. Those are two different things. The United States of America, since the country has been formed as the United States of America, or the entire time that the Europeans have been here, they have depicted what the indigenous people look like in their popular art, in their historical documents, in their books, in their maps, in their the products that they sell, like this tobacco. Tobacco is one of the advertisements where you'll see a lot of indigenous faces that look like Black Americans, and where they're showing you that they think that the indigenous people are the Black Americans. The Europeans who were here previously, they thought that the indigenous people were Black Americans. And they thought it so much that they put it in all their advertisement, in their books, their historical documents, and so on. Now, let me see the texture of this hair. It's an interesting hair texture. I'm not sure. I think that's a depiction of possibly straightened hair, or straight hair, or locks. It could be, but perhaps it's straight hair, perhaps. But whenever I had an afro like this big before I got my hair locked, or and like this big or something. So when I would have a two-strand twist, it would stretch out really long. And then when we would take it out, it would be either two-strand twist or braids. It would be wavy and not quite this straight, but it can get really straight. My hair, actually, if you were to take a single strand of my hair, it's straight like this. It all depends on if it's stretched out and held in the style for a while. And then you see this headdress, and you see that this is the iconic image of a so-called American Indian with the headdress. Oh, this is just another image of the Red Manchu. Of what? Oh, is this? Okay, no, it's still chew. I was wondering if these were cigarettes. It looks like it's still chew. And this is from, again, they created Red Manchu in 1904. And then at some point they changed the name and the image. And the reason why they changed, they did this, like, I don't know about Red Manchu when the images were changed, but I know that a lot of images were changed right around the time of civil rights. So like 1960s, 1960s, 1970s, you'll see a lot of images changing from the indigenous people in popular culture, the indigenous people being the Black Americans. It started changing to the indigenous people being something other than Black American, and having less and less pigment, which was, it's just never been the truth. Okay, this is the jersey. What we're looking at now. This is the jersey of the Black Hawk, the Black Hawks, which is a hockey team. See, well, let's go back to this image. Look how black that is. Now you can see this is a similar black to the other black items. Very interesting. Very interesting. The how dark the person is. Extremely dark. Even though this is a black and white photo, you can still see the difference in the color tone. Okay, then look at this. We zoom in, and again, these are all brown people. It even looks like, are these different pictures, or is this the exact same picture? It could be the same picture, and I'm just different. Yeah, it must. Well, anyway, you see that this is a Black American, or a very brown American. And these are the indigenous people. They're called the Black Hawks. And if you were to look up the Black Hawk Indians, you'd see that this is a tribe here in the Americas. That at some point, they were called the Black Hawk Indians. And this is in North America, the tribes in North America. Okay, the Washington Redskins, and they changed their name from the Washington Redskins to something else. And I'll get to that. I don't know. Are they the Commanders now? Okay, so let me see. So I know for sure. Washington Redskins, new name. Commanders, Washington Commanders. I was correct. Okay, so look, the image, you see the image is slowly changing to look different. So in 1937 to 1951, the image was of a Black American with locks. These are obviously locks. And his nose is similar to my nose. His color is my color. This guy, the same. You see how large the nose is? And these are probably locks. And the color again. So let me read this. It says, quote, Washington Redskins. So this is the team, the football team called the Washington Redskins. It's an image of a Black American before 1971. So right around 1971, that's where you have the current image of the Washington Redskins, where there's a guy with a hook nose and who's brown, that guy, um, that guy that image is of is not brown. He is not American. And let me see what he looks like. Uh, I want to show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Who is the for um, and he's actually, his image is on a lot of Native American related things after 1970. So different teams will use his image, different sports teams at different grade levels, and not just college, at the high school and elementary level. But I want to show you. Let me show you. Okay, let me share this new screen real quick so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, there. And let's see, where is the screen? Here. All right. So Washington Redskin logo and symbol, meaning and history. I'm referring to this image right here where the nose is hooked. So the reason why they switched it, they changed the image. So they changed the image to somebody who doesn't have even this color, but this is an image. This is not the popular image that I've seen. The popular image I've seen is the same. It's the same color as what we just saw previously in the last slide about the brown American with the locks, like he has locks, but so it's the same color. This new image that I'm referring to is the same color as that person, but the person has a hooked nose like this because they switched the image to a living person, a person who's living right now, who is European and Asian, and then they put him in blackface. Here it is. Here's that image. Here's that image that I was just referring to. Enlarging. Okay, look at this. Now look at the nose. You see how it's like cartoonish, or it's not a similar nose to the Black Americans, and that's why the image was changed. So again, the image that this is the person, the living person that this image is of has no color that's similar to this. His color is similar to a modern day European. And then they put him in blackface, and they do this in order to make sure that to make it to where we don't know who we are. Because when we go back to see the images of brown people, we'll say, you can say, oh, well, they have straight hair, or oh, look at that nose. That nose is unlike any nose in the Black American group. So how could the indigenous people be Black American if they look so much like this current day albinoid European Asian mix that is currently living, that this is an image of, that's in blackface? So it's I want to show you the image of the man that I'm actually referring to, but let me get back. I'll get back to that in just a minute. Maybe I will. Let me go back to our slides. All right. And you see, I said that Europeans know exactly who we are. They truly do. I also wrote in this description on my Facebook page. In 1971, a non-American made an image of himself in blackface to try to confuse us. Well, now I want to show you the image, since I'm still talking about it. Let me see. So now I'm going back to the other page, which I will share with you in just a moment. I'm trying to find out. Hold on. What this guy looked like. I want to show you the actual person. Okay. And I'm telling you, this guy is he's in blackface. Some of the images of some of the, like, the, what do you call it, the logos that are on the team's helmets are even darker than what we just saw. I'm not seeing this guy, and it's taking up too much time. So let's just continue with what we're looking at. So now this is a picture from, we see at the bottom it says 1585. It's a water painting, and it's of an indigenous American being as brown as I am. And you see his hair, this texture, this is of woolly hair. You can tell that even though this looks a little straight, it's not straight. This is obviously, this is what my hair would look like if I was if my hair was gray and at his length. It would look like that. And I'm not sure where in the Americas, but this is an Indian in body paint is the name of this particular painting. Okay. This is from a Family Guy episode where this guy with an afro is the modern day Black American, and these two guys here are the past Native Americans, or excuse me, the past Indigenous Americans. You see the teepees in the back to go along with the theme of them being Native American. You see the feathers in all of their hair, indicating that the Black American is the same people as his past ancestors. He's even wearing the same clothing. So in this, let me see if I could. In this image, or in this episode, Stewie makes a time machine, and they go back in time, and in one of the cutaways, I think it is one of the cutaways, they call it. That's when this Black American, he goes to the Indigenous Americans, and he says, "Hey, hey, hey," and the others say, no, one says "how," and the others say "hey, hey, hey," which is showing that "how" is supposed to be Indigenous American. "Hey, hey, hey" is supposed to be the vernacular of the Black Americans, and they're saying that they're the same people. Hold on. Family Guy. Okay, I didn't type the right thing. So I do want to pull that up real quick. Family Guy. Native American episode. Okay, let's see. A lot of the other Family Guy episodes, they made the Indigenous Americans how you call it? They made them a lot lighter in color. But here, let me show you this image. Let me get off of this. I'm going to pull up this next screen. Which is here. All right. You see here? Wait. You see this image right in this picture of how brown this person is? That's my color brown. You can see that the hair. I can't judge the texture from this cartoon, but and look what they've done to us. Not just the people on the reservations, not the Asians and Europeans that are on the Native American reservations. I'm talking about the Black Americans, the indigenous Americans, what they've done to us. And, they've, given us so many drugs and just put us in a very bad situation. Okay, let me see. Native American, I said Family Guy, Native American, not the jokes. I'll say episode. I don't know why that would pull up anything different. So why did I have to do that? So, which it didn't pull up. It didn't pull up what I'm looking for. This was from the episode of Time Travel. Okay. That's not time travel. That's not time. Wait, this was time travel. Okay. Time. Okay, maybe maybe I won't pull that up. I should have had that. I should have had that prepared already. So let's go back since I'm not pulling that up. So let's go back to this to my previous slides. I'll stop sharing that screen and share. Let's see. No, not that screen, but this screen. All right. Again. So this episode, which if you could find the clip, you'll see what I'm referring to. Again, the Black American being the same as the indigenous Americans. It was an interesting episode. This, I believe, it is in the Library of Congress. This looks like a similar style of painting from what we've seen before. That was the water painting. Looks like it could be that. Okay. These are called blackamoors. These are called blackamoor figurines. Let's see, a pair of North Italian blackamoors. Okay, this says a pair of North Italian blackamoors, but hold on, because this was made in Italy. But you look at the headdress. Let's look at this headdress. You see these feathers? This is the headdress of the North Americans and the Americas. Now, let me go to another image, because the other images actually call them, like this is an image of the North American. With tobacco leaves. These are tobacco leaves, or tobacco that he has, a tobacco product. And then he has, again, a feather headdress. Again, these are blackamoor figurines. Okay, hold on. I want to go back to the figurines, and I'll get back to them. But there's several blackamoor figurines of indigenous Americans, and it was made in Europe. But it wasn't made of the European Moors. It was made of the indigenous American Moors, and even that's the name that is given. But if I get a chance, we'll get back to that. This is from a European, let's say England rugby team, and you see again in all of the popular culture, of the Europeans, they depict us as being the indigenous Americans. And this has been throughout history, but then at some point, The 1970s, 1960s is when a lot of images changed. And actually, they started changing even prior to that, but it was like a gradual change where the color would be brightened, and then the structure of the face will be changed just a little bit until you get to where it's what we would call whitewashed. Um, but we can see the texture. Let's see. Is this the texture of his hair? Maybe, maybe not. This must be the feathers, but is this the hair texture also? Well, let's just look at the face because that's what we can be sure on. We can see that we have a headdress of an indigenous American, and we can see that this is the face of what looks to be a brown person. And then, like I said, they'll brighten the pigment over time to where the original image, this is the logo for, they're called the Chiefs, the Exeter Rugby Chiefs, right? But so over time, they'll brighten the color. So over a 10-year, like 10 years later from the start of them establishing the logo, a number of years later, they'll change the color a little bit, make it a little brighter. But if you were looking at the originals, they'll be very, very dark. And I wonder if the original of this was much darker than the image that I'm seeing right now. But this was created in 1871. And this is just goes to more proof that the indigenous people here in the Americas are the Black Americans. Again, here is another hockey team. This might still be the Blackhawks, Chicago Blackhawks. Look how dark this image. This pigment is darker than this guy. Can you tell? This is a Black American. This is also this guy right here. The image of okay, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I'm showing you that the Black American that's to the right in the hat that just happens to be in the photograph is the same ethnic group of who's on the shirt. It's very interesting. Blackhawks. Okay. Oh, this is another team called the Boston. What are you? The Boston somebody. It's a baseball team. Let me see if I forgot the name of the I forgot the name of the team. But look, in 1912, that full image I'd like to have. Okay, well, this 1912 image is still the same as the 1916 image. So let's look at the facial features of the 1916 image. 1916. You'll see again, his nose is what has been classified as Negroid. And you see red man. The whole image is red. And then let's watch how it switches from 1916 of a red man to in 1929, it's a brown man. Hold on. Let's see. And it's hard to tell the hair texture from this picture. But then it goes from a brown, from okay, it goes from this image in 1929 to, let's see, in 1945, it looks more feminine. But the nose is similar, still of a indigenous American nose or a Black American nose. The eye color, is that blue? You see, they start changing different aspects, you know, for whatever, well, for the reason of to confuse us. Then in 1956, we have a red man who 10 years later, it's changed to a brown man. So the red man and the brown man have relation. It was, you know, look how close closely that color is to mine, how close that color is to mine. And then he has a mohawk. So this guy is something like maybe a Mohawk Indian, right? And the texture of his hair, it stands up. It stands up. We're the only people whose hair stands up. The people with this level of melanin, right? The indigenous people having hair that goes upward in Mohawk, who is brown, who is also depicted as red. Look at his nose too. Look at his nose. That's not the nose of okay, they're the Braves is the name. The Braves. So that's not the nose of what we know as the Native Americans, the present day Native Americans. Right? Okay, now look again. Okay, right. This is from this last image is from 1968 to 1971. And it's brown. And like I said, right in 1971, they started changing the images. In 1960s, 1970s is when they're starting to change the image to confuse us. So look, they made it to where in the next after 1971, the date is cut off, but you can see the image. He's now white, and you can see the mohawk. It definitely stands up now. But you see, it's being changed. The hair texture is even changed. You don't see the individual like over here. You don't see these individual points, or maybe it's. I'm trying to see exactly what the artist is trying to depict, what the hair texture might have been. This could have been locks. This could have been locks like this, put up and like this, and cut off here. That would be my guess. And then you see now it's changed to where you can't gather much from the hair the image of the hair, but it still has the same nose, but now it's white. You see how the confusion, how it's confusing now? Okay, let's see. And this is the same team, the Boston Braves. And then it switched. I don't have the year. You can see it's cut off at the bottom. But then the image now switched to no person. So this still is showing that it's a Black American, even though it's only in white and red, right? So it goes from, you see how they keep switching the image. They keep switching the image. And then it goes to not even have a face at all. And it's just this tomahawk and the name Braves. And this is in a lot of their icons that were created throughout the history of the United States. They made the indigenous people Black Americans, and then eventually they took the Black American, anything that could prove that we're Black American. They made sure that they erased it, or they don't show the image. So no more faces on the team for the Braves, right? Okay. Okay, I'm talking about here. So now this is Indian motorcycle. And you see, look at his color. This is, okay, now remember I said that one guy whose face is now the face for the Washington Redskins, where he's in blackface. He's a European. He has a hook nose. They started making so this may not have been the first image for Indian Motors. It could have been, but it may not have been. They'll over the years they'll start to change it to like one phenotype, and it'll be basically they'll all change to a picture of what seems like one person. And also all the images of the Native Americans are now starting to look like one person, right? Which is this particular person I'm talking about. Like this here looks more like that hook nose individual, which is I'm not trying to be offensive or anything, but I'm trying to be descriptive. It looks like that same individual, and they switch the nose. So you see how the nose kind of the from here it goes out. That's not typically characteristic of the indigenous people of America. Because even though we could have that structure, they start to change certain structures. So he's a brown man, but the nose structure is a little different, right? And then what type of hair is this? It's hard to draw a lot of information from that, except that this is a brown person who's about my color brown. And this was founded in 1901 in the United States in Minnesota. It's called Indian Motors, or simply Indian. Interesting. A legendary motorcycle brand from the U.S., United States of America. All right. So this is, you see, an American who they're calling Australianoid. So there's Africoid, there's what apparently is there's Australianoid, which I think Australianoid, if it's different than Africoid, what difference were they looking at? What phenotypical difference are they using to distinguish the two? It's probably the hair texture. So some people in America, in the Americas, some of the indigenous people had straight hair. I have pictures of my ancestors being darker than me with straight hair. Some of them, I have pictures of them, and I'm talking about from several generations back. But we were a mixture. There was a mixture of there. Just like I said, there's several different tribes in the Americas. Just like there's several different tribes everywhere in the world. But you can see a lot of his facial structure looks like my facial structure. And this is an American, and this is a painting from 1798, and it's called An Emblem of America. And this is, or not, or it's been labeled an emblem of America. And this is probably I think this is in the Library of Congress. So all these images are in, or a majority of these images, if I said they're likely in the Library of Congress, then either it's in the Library of Congress or another .gov website or .government, right? .gov entity that is holding this information to where it's not conspiracy, or not a conspiracy theory, let's say that, but it's actually held by credible sources or credible entities. Here's another one. Okay, it's the British Museum. Okay, that's what I was looking. That's the name. This is the British Museum, and perhaps so it looks like. Okay, this is also called An Emblem of America. So I would say perhaps all the ones that said Emblem of America, every one that had all the pictures that has the title Emblem of America, is probably from the British Museum. Or that's probably where I found the image, or was able to locate, or was able to see that the image is also there. You see, let's look at the indigenous people. Look at the hair texture. Okay, well, the first thing you notice is that color, right? That color is extremely melanated. It's very dark, very a lot of melanin, dark browns, so dark that it looks black. And then, you can tell that the color, they're intentional on the color. This isn't a black and white image. All the other color, every other color, there's detail. You see a lot of detail in the color, in and to make the colors vivid, to show how the light is hitting the fabrics and hitting the items, and how it changes the color. So then when they go and to make the color of the people, this isn't a mistake. When they make the color of the indigenous Americans, this isn't a mistake. You'll notice the nose I would just chalk this off to maybe the quality of the artist. So, but the nose looks like a mixture between what we would call Africoid, Negroid, and European. Um, it looks like like somewhere in between, but we have all nose structures. Every nose structure that exists, we have. So, and then you see the hair is what I wanted to talk about. You see, there's a curl pattern. It's showing some level. It's this looks like some type of style, and it's curly. I noticed the curls. Okay, let's get out this, and you see this is you see the domination being shown in the imagery. Okay, now this is what I was talking about before. You see how the nose structure of the European is different than the nose structure of Americans, and then so when I was talking about before, where what they'll change, they'll just change a few details in the images over time, or they'll like give it a more Europeanized nose, give the image a more Europeanized nose, but keep the same color. And this it gets makes it confusing, makes us confused later on. Another image of a Blackamoor Native American, indigenous American. These were all created in a similar time period before the 1800s. I'm trying to remember the roundabout date. Let me zoom out. Okay, look at the head feathers. It's how is one giveaway that is Native American. These could be tobacco leaves at the bottom. It could be tobacco leaves at the top, or it could be feathers. Perhaps it's feathers. But I've seen other images where it was said that this lower garment is tobacco leaves. And you can see the color brown is a heavily pigmented individual, or this level brown is very dark brown. Okay, and I had asked AI what this was. And this is saying this is a 18th century. Okay, so that means in the 1700s. It's an 18th century Venetian blackamoor sculpture, likely depicting a Native American. So that other image that I showed you it said blackamoor, and then underneath somebody wrote that it's an Italian, but it was made in Italy of the people in the Americas. So the whoever had posted the picture just likely made a mistake of the other image where I was showing you. If you can recall, they probably made a mistake by calling that Italian. It was created in Italian in Italy, but it was not of the Italians. And these images are called blackamoors. Now this, you see more at the end, Moor. So the Venetians thought that the indigenous Americans were Moors. They thought that the indigenous Americans were black Moors or very dark Moors. They also thought the indigenous Americans, so they thought they were dark brown, and they got the headdress and all the clothing correct. So they're more than likely they would know exactly who the indigenous Americans are and were because they had just gone there. And this so so this could have been created by an albinoid European. It could have been created by a Moor in Europe, a European Moor. It could have been. Well, I would say those seem to be the two options. All right. So this is back to the book called The New and Unknown World. And you'll see this is of North America here. and South America, and our adjoining islands here. And let's see what it says. What does this say? It says Novus Orbis. Okay, which means, what does Novus mean? I know Orbis is referring to an orb, like it's talking about the globe or it's talking about the world. Let's see what this means. Novus. Okay, we're sharing this particular screen. Hold on, let me get back to. Okay, which screen are we sharing? Well, let me open up this new screen. Or no, I don't need to open it up. Let me just look it up. Novus Orbis. What does it mean? Get out of the images. New world, okay? Which I knew that's what it meant, but I wanted to be sure so I don't say anything incorrect and have to make a correction. All right, so that was New World. Novus Orbis is New World, so referring to the Americans, and this is Meridionalis. Okay, that's talking about the meridian. It's referring to the lands along a certain parallel. All right. Okay, Del Sur Mar. Okay, I remember Zor. I thought that had something to do with south. And then Mars referring to water. And then this Pacific. Okay, so the reason why sometimes I stop on my words is because in English, the I is I. In every other language, it's E. In English, the E, the letter E is eh. The sound is eh. In other languages, the letter E is A. The sound is A. So sometimes that's what's slowing me down. I'm gonna call this Pacificus. No, Pacificum, or the Pacific Ocean. Okay, let's see. I think Mar is again referring to the water. Now let's look at the people. Okay, you see they're all brown, and you can even see the hair texture here is similar to my hair texture. Can you tell? And then you can tell that his hair texture is similar to mine, and his hair texture is similar to mine. And their color is the color of the Black Americans. Okay, let's go up. Okay, we see the Europeans are over here eating the Albinoid Europeans, and then here's the indigenous Americans being made subservient. And look, they're very dark brown. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, this is a zoomed up image of what I had just showed you. Again, you can see the texture of the hair is similar to my texture. The texture of this guy's hair, look at that. This guy's hair. And you see, it's in the land that has all these pretty, colorful birds, which means it's a tropical area, right? Or within that parallel that I was referring to, in the warm area along the equator. Okay, this is the same map. This is what do you call that? When you make a mural, is what it's called. So one of the murals of Diego Rivera at the Tlatelolco market in different language in the National Palace between 1929 and 1935, showing the life of Aztec times. Okay, this is very interesting, and you can look this up. Look at the indigenous people. So in the 1920s and the 1930s, people were allowed to tell the truth. Look at this. Look at the color of these people. Look how dark. And you see there's different colors. Can you see that there's we range in the level of pigmentation that we have? Look at this. All all these people. Look at the texture of their hair. Very interesting. Okay, this is again, this is talking about a European queen named Philippa of Hainaut. Described Philippa of Hainaut was the wife of Edward III of England, and um, she was described as being brown of skin all over, between blue, black, and brown. And her father was also described as being brown of skin all over. So that's in Europe. The Moors were definitely, or the royalty was um, the same color as the indigenous Americans, or as the Black Americans. The royalty looked just like the Black Americans. Okay. Okay, now this is an image of Florida. This is in the same book that I mentioned before, New and Unknown World by Arnold Montimus, or Montanus, I think. So look at the color. Even though this particular image is black and white, there's you can still see how much pigment any one subject has. And I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but mm, I don't remember reading. I don't remember what the text said because it was in a different language. It was in the text is in Dutch. Very interesting. Very interesting. And you can tell the style. So the style of this is a what do you call it? It's an engraving, actually. I think they might have used. I don't know if he used metal, but it's a this style of art. To my memory, it's an engraving. Okay. Unknown New World Order something the okay, you know what? I can figure out what this means. Okay. But okay, Amsterdam. Okay, that was that image. So this image is from this artist, but this artist, that image is in the book. If I have it correct, I'm almost certain that. Well, am I certain? No, it is in the book. It's the same style of of artwork, the same method, and it's the same areas being discussed. The same. It's the same artist. This is in the same time frame as the book. And it's the name is Unknown New World Order. Okay, this is from the same book of Montanus, Arnold Montanus. Okay. Wait, here we go. You see, Montanus Arnoldus So it's an engraving from Montanus Arnoldus. But what was I reading down here? Who is J. von Moors or Meurs, which means Moors? Well, let's move on. So again, this is from that book that I mentioned about the new and unknown world, or called the New and Unknown World. So 1673 is around the time of the book. Here's another engraving. Apparently, the women are without a top covering of their body. Let's look at the texture of hair. You can see that these people have pigment, and more pigment than whatever this robe is, right? More pigment than anything that they're wearing, more pigment than the items behind them, or most of the items behind them. Okay, let's look at this hair. You can't quite see, but this looks like it might be similar hair texture to mine. Let's see, can I see here? Not quite. Here, what's okay? Now this is a different hair texture. This is certainly a different hair texture. This is a straight hair texture. And this appears to be a straight hair texture. Okay, that's interesting. But now here, look at this. This definitely looks like it's locks. Lock here, and lock here. Interesting. Interesting. And these are the people of Florida. The people of Florida that look like Black Americans. Okay, now this is an image of a tobacco company, or from a tobacco company. It says in din Morian, or Morian. Okay. This is so it's a tobacco company. It was said that these are tobacco leaves, if I have that correct. You see the bottom, his bottom garment. If I have it correct, those are tobacco leaves. And you can see it looks very similar to what's coming out of this barrel, which is tobacco. And you can see the headdress. I don't know if those are feathers or tobacco leaves, but perhaps it's feathers. But you can see that this is, well, one, they're called Morian. And you can see how dark in pigment this person is. And you can even gather the information from this image of what the hair texture would have been. This looks like somebody who will grow an afro. Indian. Now I'm not exactly sure what it means, but I'm wondering if it's dealing with indigenous Indian, if it has similar root or similar connection. Okay, this is de toi Moraine, or of two Moors. Moors. So here's the two Moors. And you can see he's smoking a pipe. You've heard of the peace pipe, right? You see this is him blowing smoke, it looks like. Here's a ship that's showing that they're shipping the item from the Americas over the waters to a land past the waters. We can gather from this tree here to the right, and this tree at the bottom right, or in the middle right, that this is a warm environment, a very warm environment, and the fact that they have very little clothing on, that they're in a warm environment. Look at the texture of this man's hair. Same as my texture. Very interesting. Okay, so it's from the 1970s or 1980s. Excuse me, why did I say that? That's incorrect. It's from the 1700s or the 1800s. From the 1700s or the 1800s. Oh, you see right here, this guy has a headdress on, right? That shows that he's indigenous American, right? And not merely a slave. It doesn't appear that these are slaves. Of course, I can't tell you exactly what is happening, but this guy has a headdress, which shows that he's likely indigenous American. This guy has woolly hair, which shows that he has the same hair texture as mine, and they're both brown, which shows that perhaps those are Black Americans. Okay, this is another image. So a lot of the tobacco companies, as I mentioned before, had images of Black Americans. Um, yeah, and the first image that I showed you was of Red Man Chew, right? The very first image of the tobacco companies. So De Road Kende Morian. You see, this time there's only one O instead of two O's, but it's referring to the same group of the same group of persons or people doing the exact same trade. Okay, this is of this is smoking. This is more. So it's the smoking more is what this means. And you can see this is an Amsterdam company. So apparently it must be going from the Americas to Amsterdam. The garment, again, to my knowledge, his lower garment is made up of tobacco leaves. Okay, and from the description that I'm reading, uh, these are palm trees, and you can obviously see that those are palm trees. He's in a tropical area, and you can also see what looks to be a ship, again, showing that they're right at the coast, and the tobacco is being distributed to other countries, other lands. This is back to the book that I mentioned, the New and Unknown World. The people of New Spain, I think it is. Okay, and you see these are brown people. Okay, now the texture of her hair looks to be, well, maybe I'll dispute what the texture is, but it looks a little straight, whereas his looks like it's curly or more curl, like a tighter curl. Okay, natives of New Mexico, New Spain. Like I said, it's called New Spain, and or where the people are. It's what was called New Spain, which is Mexico. And apparently, the natives look just like the Black Americans in North America. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. What image are we referring to? Okay. About this item, original copper engraving out of a Montanus de Niue en on be kende we railed. Okay. Okay. Of South America, right? I remember this Zuid. Zuid is South, so Southland. America in the Southland. Okay, so let's see. Of New, maybe that's and Unknown World. I can't remember what this word means here, but then it's the America of the Southlands. Okay, and it was published. Okay, Jacob Mayors published this image in 1671, but the image is taken out of the book from Arnoldus Montanus, which okay this is the lifespan of Arnoldus Montanus right here, 1625 to 1683. All right. Okay, now this is an image right here of a Black American. Let's see the school. Millersburg Area School District. That's here in North America. And you'll see, so over time, like I said, they'll change the color. I wonder if the original image of the logo for this school, if it was darker, if the original image was darker in complexion. But even at this complexion, it's obviously a brown man, the same color that is the Black Americans, and not the color of the people that are on the reservations who are European and Asian mixture. But you can see the nose is a Black American nose. Even the ear is a Black American ear. People have different ear structures depending on their how you call this, their ethnicity. You can see that the hair looks like it has the quality that stands up. It has a curl pattern that makes it go upward. And when it's bound, it's not straight, right? It doesn't seem to be stringy. Okay, like I said, the Millersburg Area School District, the entire district uses a Black American as their logo, depicting a indigenous person, an indigenous American person. Okay. This now, while this is just within the slides, but I do want to address this because it's important. That so Black Americans are the only people in the world. There are only people in the world who are fighting to have the women be their rulers. It's quite it's nonsense. But this quote that from me, this is my quote. I said, Black American patriarchy is the only path to the end of European colonization, right? So there's patriarchy and there's matriarchy. Patriarchy isn't bad. Matriarchy isn't bad. It's not bad, but matriarchy simply hasn't existed. Patriarchy is what has always existed because men have a power differential. We're stronger than the women, and we've always been in power. But the Black Americans, where we get wrong, our men and our organizations, is that a good portion of us will fight to put women in charge of us, which will lead to us not ever forming a nation. We'll never form a nation if the majority of us are fighting to put women in charge of the nation. If women are in charge of the nation, it means that there's another man who actually runs the women, because the man's so so right now we have it to where the Black American women are to some extent they're the leaders of the Black Americans to a great extent. And we're also the only people who doesn't have a nation. We're also the only people with all the statistics, the negative statistics that we have. Well, other people have negative statistics, but we're the ones in such a disarray because we don't respect men in charge, and that's what we need to change. In fact, well, I'll get to that later, but we need to respect men in charge. Um, and that was our culture. There's not been a time where the men have not been in charge. And some people point to societies where women are given a level of power, and where women are honored, which we honor our women to you know, you can still honor your women and not fight to make them the head of your entire nation, or um, the dominant portion of your nation. Okay, now this is an image of what looks to be a Black American as the indigenous Americans. Look at his hair; those are braids. I didn't notice that, and it's curled up. It's curled up like this, like a ram's horn. Can you can you tell that it's curled, and that these are braids or locks or something? That's what it looks like. His hair looks to have a similar texture as my hair. Okay, I see this word here um, referring to Mexico, so perhaps they're in Mexico. But to translate all this, I would need time and to translate something to reference to translate. Because even though these words are similar to English because it's all Latin, sometimes I'll mix words up because it looks like one thing and it might be something else. Okay, his hair texture. Okay, so again, this is from the same book. And let's see, what's the top? It says something of America. What does that mean again? Okay, I don't know what this means, but you might put it into a translator yourself. All right. I wonder what's happening. So the Europeans seem to be calm. The volcano is erupting. The indigenous people seem to be shocked. Um, so I remember there were stories of. I remember cartoons of El Dorado, where the Europeans said, the volcano is going to erupt or something, or that some harm is going to come to the people because he has some type of powers, some type of supernatural powers, and then the volcano erupted, and then he said, okay, this is proof of my supernatural powers. I wonder if that has anything to do with this image. But you can see they're like begging the European for something. But what could they possibly need from the European? They're on the same piece of land, but the volcano is erupting. The Europeans seem to be calm. The indigenous seem to not be calm. They actually seem to be distraught. Mr. Montanez, I wonder about this image. Okay. This is the early flag of Suriname, which is a country in South America. And you can see that these are Black Americans. And look again at the hair texture. When I say Black Americans, most of the time I'm referring to the Black Americans in North America. But then there's sometimes, and you should hear the context, sometimes I'm referring to the people with brown skin in all the Americas. Okay. So but you should be able to gather from the context Usually, when I say Black American, I'm referring to the Black Americans in North America, because we were the ones that were called Black Americans first. I think, anyway. Okay, so let's look at another image. So this is the first image, and then later on, it got changed into these two individuals that were turned into albinoid individuals, someone without melanin. And like I said, over time, they changed the images of the indigenous Americans to make it into an image of an albinoid European. Okay, these are the indigenous people. Look at the hair texture here. Can you see it? Yes. So these are the indigenous people, Indian chiefs. Okay. These are Indian chiefs making a speech to King George I. The chiefs of the Indians were Black Americans. You can see their skin tone is obviously darker than the Europeans. However, somehow the European skin tone is the same color as the people on the reservations that are being called Native American today, which would suggest that the people being called the people who are being called Native American today, who are on the reservations, are not the indigenous Americans. They're actually the Europeans, and with a mixture of Asian. Okay, this is again back to the matriarchy, right? The difference between matriarchy and patriarchy. Okay, so in this quote, I'm saying matriarchy. This is how we would handle things in a matriarchy. Daughters, will you ask our mean conquerors to be nicer? In a patriarchy, we tell our sons, we must and shall defeat our conquerors. This is one of the big differences between men and women, right? Women are going to roll a certain way, men are going to roll a certain way. No such thing as a matriarchy. But if our people started respecting men, we can actually get things done and behave as men. Men stop conquerors. Men conquer. Okay. And if the individuals who are fighting to make my people a matriarchy, if they are successful, I am leaving. Straight up. I'm going to wherever there is not a matriarchy. There's no such thing. But if somehow the people in the Black Americans, some of the Black Americans who are fighting to put women in charge of our nation, if they pull it off, I'm going to a different place. Okay. Okay. This is the book cover for the book that we were referring to earlier, The New and Unknown World. Oh, and in this book, is this the book cover? Okay, I don't know if this. I don't think this is the book cover. Let me take that back. I don't think this is the book cover. But Americas, and you see they're carrying a woman. Her hair texture, you can't quite tell, but that don't look like a Black American. That looks just like a Black American. And see these other images of people, what looks like to be Black Americans. More Black Americans. Where is this? This is the same book. I'm not sure where this is in the Americas. Somewhere where this looks like maybe a tropical fruit. Their clothes are off, so it's warm, and this type of leaf grows in in warm environments. Okay, this is a painting of a Brazilian woman, and this is in the Smithsonian magazine. And what date is this? 1528. A Brazilian woman traveled to France, and the Brazilian people look like us. They're the same type of the same people. We're the same people in that we've traveled back and forth. Um, we've traveled back and forth before the Europeans got here. That was our custom is to leave one area when it's cold and come back when it's warm. These are indigenous people. This is Smithsonian magazine. Indigenous people of Spain. No, brought to Spain. Indigenous people brought to Spain, but it doesn't say where exactly they're from. But if they were brought to Spain, then they're probably from the southern Americas, right? Like so, Mexico and down, Mexico and south of that. And then from the game that they're playing, we could gather probably more of we can gather that they possibly came from a certain area. Patoli. All right. Okay. I'm not going to look up that word right now. Just I'm trying to figure out where it is. Where are you in the Americas? Hey, look at this word right here. Moro. You'll see the word more in different forms. Okay, there's moro here over here. Right here, there's ma maer. So you'll see the word more all throughout here, and they actually refer to the people called the Moors. But when they speak of the people called the Moors, a lot of times they're not talking about the indigenous people. They're actually talking about what I think they're talking about is people who traveled from Europe to the Americas. When they're in this book, when they're speaking of Moors, a lot of times when it's a certain spelling, they like spell then they use the spellings different to depict what group of people they're talking about. And then the Moors that came from the same area that they came from, where the Dutch is coming from, it seems like that's what the Moors must have been coming from at this particular time, or that the writers were talking about. Um, they're differentiating them from the indigenous people. But then there's other sources that indicate that the indigenous people were called Moors too. So I'm looking up more and more of that history, right? So that I can prove that the people of the Americas were called Moors. But certainly the brown people in Europe were called Moors. Certainly. Okay, look at this plant. This looks like a very nice fruit, like a pineapple or a papaya or a pineapple. That looks like a pineapple, but it's not. Look at the shape, how it's not quite a pineapple. But if I read the description, it might say name. I remember I did translate a good portion of this book. I translated a very good portion of this book. Look, you see the word again, Maer, Maer. But anyway, this is in a tropical area. I'm not exactly sure where exactly they are, but if you translate this, it will tell you. This is not in the book, right? Okay, the Indian races. I don't think this is in the book. North and South America. It can't be in the book because the book is in Dutch. Well, but they could have put this title is I'm not sure the origin of this image, but it's of Black Americans or indigenous Americans being Black Americans, what looks like Black Americans. This guy has what looks like to be a turban with feathers coming out. This guy also could be a turban with feathers coming out. This must be the person in charge. And you can see the European seems to be the one that is seeking the audience of the indigenous. Okay, these are blackamoors again, referring to, you see that they're smoking. This is from the tobacco company. Hold on. Okay, so this this is a tobacco company from Virginia that goes to London. So it looks like London and Virginia. It's called Best Virginia. The F looking character in the alphabet. This is also a S. It's an S. BEST. Best Virginia. So this is like saying that it's very good tobacco. And it, a company that is out of London in the in Virginia, which is in North America, and you can see that these are small blackamoors, or what would be called blackamoors. Whenever we're dealing with the tobacco, remember they refer to those people as blackamoors, which is one of the pieces of evidence that the indigenous people were called blackamoors. You can see the headdress. These are feathers, feather headdress. You can't quite tell the texture of hair. Okay, another company, and you can, if you were to Google it, you'll see there are so many more that I didn't show. There's so much advertisement from these tobacco companies depicting the indigenous people looking like Black Americans, and they often have within the photograph or within the image, they'll have the words more, some word that means more. Okay. Tobacco company. Another tobacco company, the Smoking More. You can see, okay, in tropical area, there's a ship that's delivering the product. He's smoking something from a pipe, it looks to be. He has the tobacco leaves both in his hand and as a garment for his waist. Okay, tropical area, as far as the trees are concerned, the tobacco barrels, tobacco leaves falling out of one of the barrels. All right. Again, another Smoking More. It doesn't have a lot of information about where this country or what the company, what the country origin of the company is. So, but if we look at this is a Black American, what looks to be a Black American. He has a similar nose structure as mine. He's holding a long pipe, which is interesting. I wonder what it's like to smoke a pipe that long, like this long. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's like. I don't know, but it seems interesting. I'd imagine the smoke would be not as hot, because when you smoke, you in order to turn something into smoke, you have to burn it. And if you burn something, you catch it on fire, then it's hot. Over time, something that's hot will cool down. And as it's going through this long tube, I'd imagine it cool down before it enter his mouth, and so it won't burn his lungs as much. But I'm not really sure what the reason for the length of the pipe. Okay, this says of wild man, or the wild men, the wild man. This is another tobacco company, Amsterdam. The company is apparently um, out of Amsterdam. These are Black Americans, what appears to be Black Americans. You can draw that maybe this shows some of the texture of his hair being curly. You can see that he has again, a garment that just covers his waist, and those are tobacco leaves. You see, this is a barrel of tobacco with tobacco leaves coming out. A ship, again, there's a ship in the background showing that the product is being moved from the Americas across the waters to a different country or to a different landmass. Okay, again, like I said, in the logos, if you look in the sports logos, that's where you'll find a lot of images of indigenous Americans being Black Americans. So this is a basketball team, excuse me, this is a school, and their logo is Mohawk. It's called, well, it's of the Mohawk Indians, and you can see that this is a brown person. You can see that the nose is like how it's kind of protruding out. If you remember, as I mentioned before, at some point in history, they started to make the images look more and more like one individual person, or like one individual image, to where it's like they're modifying it in order to bring it all to make it the same, and then they gradually change that image. I guess they don't have to change, several images at a time. They can just change one image, right? If that makes sense. You see, look at how the nose protrudes. The original image, more than likely, did not have a nose that pointed out this far. Like, why would you make a nose that pointed out that far? It probably cut off, if you can see my mouse, like right there. That makes the most sense. Even these features don't come together, where you have the eyes like this, the color, the hair, and this nose, the lips. The nose is the thing that's out of place. Well, anyway, but you can see this is Millie's High School, or Millis High School, it might be pronounced. Another image of the of the icon on the floor, or the logo. It's the word I was looking for. The logo is on the floor of the basketball court. This is zoomed up. Look at this is zoomed up of one of the maps from the book we were talking about before, called The New and Unknown World by Arnold Montanez. Look at his hair texture. And you can see it shows that it could be a loose curl pattern, but when my hair is very short, sometimes it has a loose. Well, in general, it has like a loose curl pattern that's like tight. It like just depends on. It just depends, I don't even know what. Well, I do know what it depends on, but okay. More images of the indigenous Americans. This is in Chile. You can tell from the hair. Now this person, their phenotype is interesting. This person right here. But this person, you can tell that his hair is similar to mine, the texture. And even this person perhaps has a similar hair texture, perhaps. Certainly the baby does. Oh, where? Yeah, in Chile. Okay. Okay, I stated that the woman has dreadlocks. Let me see if I would say the same thing looking at it. I did just mention something about her hair. It looks like it's locked off to an extent. You see where there's individual um, clusters of hair. So like, or what would be called a lock. It looks like it could be locks. Okay. Okay, the Dutch writing is describing gender roles, marriage customs, and daily life. According to the text, the groom's family would pay a bride price to the virgin bride's family or to the widow bride's family by Arnold de Montanus. In this book, it mentioned that our societies value virginity and that when we married a woman, the woman was a virgin in the Americas. That was what it was before the Europeans came here. When we married a woman, the woman was a virgin before we married her. That was the custom. And you can translate this if you like, or you can look the book up. It's in the Library of Congress. You look it up, and you can go to these pages. It's on page 563, and you can translate it. You can copy the text, and you can put it into a translator. And you can see, look, it says at the bottom, just to show you for sure that this is from the Library of Congress, LOC, Library of Congress.gov. You have to be a government entity in order to have a .gov. It's like I can't get a .gov without certain qualifications. Well, I can't get a .gov. I've tried to make a .gov, but it's virginity right now is it's almost like a taboo topic. Ever since what's being called feminism has taken over, but even more so, it's ever since the conquering of the Americans. When you conquer a group of people, you're taking the women. You take the women. The easiest way to take the women is for them to be sexually available, even in their mind, to be sexually available. If in their mind they have to be a virgin until marriage, then they're not sexually available to the conquering men. But if virginity doesn't matter and they're having sex with everybody, then it's easier for the conquering men to make children with them. But what was done was they changed our society to where the women are now hypersexual, and and now the men don't want to marry them because they've had so many sexual partners. Whereas everywhere in the world, we value virginity. Everywhere in the world, we value marrying for virgins, marrying a virgin woman. But then, in order to make it to where our marriage rate goes down, they're encouraging our women to have sex at very young ages, and making it to where the women will have sex with many partners. Just to point out, we used to value virginity. Okay, now this is another image of one of the maps zoomed in. I'm not sure why I showed. Oh, okay. This is in the book. This is one page, and on the other page, that's why I showed it like this. It's this portion. So you can see in Chile, the people. This guy has a texture of hair that looks just like mine. He also has a skin tone that's like mine. These would be, these are Black American as far as the color and being an American. You can see the texture of this person's hair is also an Afro-like hair. These look like grapes. See this grape cluster here. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, it's a map of Chile with indigenous people depicted as Black Americans. Um, okay, where is this? I'm trying to find where this is, but let's look at the people. Look at this baby. He has a clear afro. Look at that little boy. He has an afro, and it looks like he's uncircumcised. Well, that's interesting. I could be off. This guy has an afro. Well, that's an interesting creature. I see a ram. That's cool. Uh, we spoke about the importance of rams in the last broadcast that I had. Let's see, what else can we draw from here? Well, that they're obviously they look like Black Americans. And where is this? Paraguay, maybe? Where is Paraguay? Par- Let me see. I think it's spelled. Yep. Okay. So the B is the same as U. And this is in South America, south of Bolivia, right? South of Bolivia. It's interesting. Okay. So this is the people of South America with afros, the indigenous people of South America. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Here I said the map of Paraguay, or I think it's called Paraguay, in South America with indigenous Americans depicted as Black Americans by Arnoldus Montanus. New Andalu. New Andalu. Okay. This is so that's like Spain. It's like this New Spain. Then here's the islands. Here's Trinidad. So then this is what is the tip of that spot called? But you can see this is like South America area. The northern part of South America, right next to the islands. Oh, let's look at the people. Look at this. He is convinced that the indigenous people of America are Black Americans. Like he's convinced. You see the hair texture again; it's the same as ours. This is from the same book, The New and Unknown World. Okay, this is a map of Venezuela in South America. Very interesting. Oh, up here. What's happening up here? Okay, we got a person with a trident, which is interesting. We have this American like actually I don't know what these. Let me not say what these individuals are, because it could be that they're just in a shadow, or it could be that they're the indigenous Americans. I'm not sure what's going on with that one, but sometimes they'll have the Europeans in these pictures, just showing that they're conquering. Okay, so this is Nort is north. Okay, Guiana, Guyana, maybe region. I think I might mention where we're referring to. Well, let me see. Okay, let's look down here. You see this another Black American here. Black American here at the bottom. I'm trying to see, where is this map of? Mar is referring to what I believe is water. Again, oh, this woman has locks. Look at that. Look at this. Can you tell that these are locks? Doesn't this look like locks instead of stringy hair? Because stringy hair would be more hairs and it would fan out in a certain way, but locks fall a certain way and they divide a certain way. This woman has locks and what looks like a turban. And this kid, like, or smaller individual, has an afro. Where is this? Where are you? Okay, I'm not sure where exactly this is, but down here, this guy where he's pointing to, it tells you. Okay. What are you pointing to? What are you saying? I'm not sure what that's saying. Okay, yeah, like I said, Guyana. Okay, this is a map of Guyana and the Amazon region in South America, with indigenous Americans being depicted as Black Americans. Interesting, right? Okay. Okay, there's something in here that I was focusing on. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm not about to read it right yet. I look at these indigenous, these what looks like Black Americans. This is in the same book, The New and Unknown World. That looks like they're in some type of sport fighting. And look, this guy is like laying down watching these two people. What looks like this guy is preparing for a punch. Looks like he's winding up to swing and hit this guy towards maybe his head. This guy is also winding up to swing and hit this guy somewhere. And over here at the bottom, you see, if you can see my mouse, there's someone laying down, just kind of watching. And then there's the whole tribe is like, on the outskirts just watching this. So this must be like a sport fight. Oh, now this was interesting. This is called Maori Tion. Let me see what the name for Mauritian Opolis. More. I don't see the full word because it's split off in the pages. Mauritiopoulos. Maurit. That's so that's going to be, hold on. So TIO. Maybe that's IOPOLIS. So if I understand this word, so this is Mauritiopoulos, or the city of the Moors, which is awesome. There's an area called the City of the Moors in the Americas. There was I think it was an island, and so it made sense for it to be called that, because Moor also refers to water, but then the people who travel the waters are also called Moors, right? And these are, you see that these people there, you see the indigenous people on crafts on water vessels. You see him over here at the bottom right. He's pulling in a water vessel. It looks like maybe he's mooring a boat or mooring a small water vessel to the land. But they talk about the Moors in this section of the book, or they talk about this group of Moors in this section of the book, which was it's interesting. You see, look at the texture of the hair. Look at the texture of hair. You might notice that the clothing is a bit different than the clothing that we observed in the other indigenous peoples. That's interesting. I have to reread. I'm going to have to reread the description. Very interesting. Or reread the text and translate it. Okay, this is an etching of tribes in Brazil. So again, of people who look like Black Americans, again, with their hair texture looking just like us, like ours. The clothing made up of leaves. A lot of the clothing is made up of leaves. Oh, now they have a similar clothing as the people from Moratop, the city of Moors, or the word that we just saw. I think MauritiopOlis or something. Um, they're wearing a similar clothing, like the under. I mean the lower garb that's covering their torso, or not their yeah their pelvis. Now it was interesting to see the garb that some of these people have, which made me question their origin, like where are these people coming from? But I still think these are the indigenous people of the Americas. But you see, these are turbans. These are clearly turbans that they're wearing. But it's still, you see the feather dress. It could just be that these are a different class of people. You see the feather hair dress, but you see that there's a lot of clothing on these individuals, whereas apparently it's warm enough to be nearly butt naked, with as these the other men are in this image. So you see the hair texture again. You see here uh, in this left area, left corner, lower left corner, you see this guy's hair looks like a Black American. This is in Peru. I'd have to read the I'd have to read the text again or read the text in general to know exactly who these people are. I'm gonna have to translate this. It's very interesting. No, this is interesting. Barbara um, sent or showed this. Okay, thank you. This is of a woman of Peru. Interesting. From 900 BCE to 200 BCE. Okay, she's a brown person. She has a wide type nose. This is interesting. Thick lips, big full lips. Very interesting. Okay, she had more information. What else do you have for us? The Moshe Empire. The American Negro is the American Indian, is what this is saying. No ancient South American tribe played a greater role in shaping the African culture in the post-Egypt area than the Mose tribe. Some historians spell the name Moche, and others spell it Mosi. The Moshe tribe was for African what the Uru tribe was for the Middle East. The collapse of the Warre Empire naturally led to the rise of the Mose Empire. The Mose Empire of the ancient South America is one of the greatest empires in all of human history. On the Christian calendar, 400 AD. Around 400 AD, the Mose defeated the Warre and usurped the Warre Empire. What are you saying? What are you saying? What are you saying? I'm skipping. Scanning. Okay, let's see here. Talking about the pyramids. Okay. Mose liked everything on a grand scale. Mose fabrics were plain with no more than two colors, but they were large. Mosaic pyramids tended to be very large. Most of the large pyramids, most of the large pyramids, South America, most of the large pyramids, South America, were built by the Mosaic. Okay, apparently this is a typo. It should have been most of the large pyramids of South America were built by the Mosaic. Moshe. The large pyramids in present day Egypt are Moshe style pyramids. Interesting. Unlike the Ware, Moshe were not materialistic. Moshe's were more concerned about the religion than materialism. Okay, that's an interesting piece of information. What else you got? Okay, you got some more. Oh, what are you saying here? Okay, South Carolina, right? That's a Negro is what would be called a Negro in English and in Latin, you know. And then over here, at least what's been classified as Negro. Over here, this is a man of Peru, and apparently this is a picture, so this is more modern day. Interesting. We look the same still. We look the same still. Okay, I appreciate that information. Okay, you can read this. You know, it's very interesting. Look at the color. All right, these are the indigenous people of Brazil. Again, let's look at these people. Interesting, interesting. I wonder what this plant is. For dark people, same color brown. Look, they're in a hammock right here. Look, can you see? They're in a hammock. That's cool. Again, the indigenous people, where are they from? I'm not sure where they are, but you can see his hair texture is curly, but you can see they're all dark brown. They appear to be in a circular, or to be sitting in a circle. And this is a European man, apparently approaching what might be a American woman. Might be, but the breasts aren't protruding. This could just be pectoral muscles. So, not sure. Some big calves. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, let's see what do we have here? What was this? Okay, not sure where in the Americas this is, but you can still see that these are brown people. Poto. Okay, the word got cut off. Poto. See. I don't know what that means. Okay, you can see another area in the Americas where I didn't record the name. Excuse me, but you can see that the hair is very curly. The curl pattern is tight. See, there's an individual riding on a bull. That's interesting. A camel-looking type creature here. Look at the garb. It's interesting garb that they have on. They seem to be perhaps the same people. Okay, the clothing in Peru. Okay, I see that he's wearing pants. Um, a lot of these tribes were not wearing pants, apparently. Uh, now, now this is the first time I'm seeing shirts. So I'm seeing the t-shirts on these individuals at the lower in the lower area, and then this tunic like fabric. Excuse me. This is Peru. Indigenous people drinking from a can. That's not a can. It opens and shuts. Well, this is some type of liquid container. That's cool. I didn't notice that before. Again, you can look at the hair texture and see that it has a tight curl pattern. Like I said, people had different texture hair. Not sure exactly where they are. Okay, they're in South America. These are the people of South America, the indigenous people of South America. Indigenous people of Peru. Um, it's a big fire, what appears to be a fire. I don't understand how the birds would be suspended and in the fire. That, it's an interesting artistic rendering. Now the hair texture is all curls, tight curls, tight curls, tight curls. Oh, okay. They've killed an animal. There, it looks like they're putting animals in the fire, maybe to eat them. Well, this guy's killing the animal over here too. It's an awful lot of animals being put in the fire at the same time. Not sure what's going on here. People of Peru. I'm not sure where these people are, but somewhere in South America, I imagine. This guy is playing an instrument that looks like a flute directly in the ear of this individual. And apparently the individual likes it or doesn't mind. I don't know. Let's see. We can see the hair texture of some of these people. Like here, this person has braids. Can you see the two strands coming down? Those are long braids. Okay, all these plates of what might be metals. Maybe it's metals, maybe it's gold. Look, earrings of some type of metal, like well, maybe metal, maybe gold also. I'm just saying gold because I've it's depicted in a lot of movies that and written in books that these people you listen to being carried by multiple people. Okay, this guy is standing on the bed that's being carried or on the platform that's being carried, blowing wind, blowing a wind instrument in this guy's uh, ear or right next to the guy for his listening purposes. Interesting, interesting. And is there in a tropical area? We can see these palm trees have some fruits on it. Might be coconuts, coconut trees. Okay, it's people in South America. Now this is a map zoomed up of black, what looks to be black Americans. Oh look, that looks like an armadillo. Okay, yeah. Popayan. What is Popeye? Okay, again, okay, his garb, he has pants on, but like some type of pants and a turban and feathers coming out. And these guys have feather headdresses, a lot of feather headdresses. Um, very interesting. This looks to be a ram or a goat. Okay, water of south, maybe. Water of the south. I know where this is. Okay, I can tell from right here. This is this. So this is the Pacific. No, 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 no. Yeah, this is the Pacific Island. I mean, waters, the Pacific Ocean right here, and then above it is the Atlantic Ocean, and this is that landmass in between North and South America. See, this says Mar del North, or Water of the North, Water of the South, Water of the North. Okay, this is the same image. Okay, this is in New Spain, which we've seen before is somewhere around Mexico. We can see the color of these people are all the same color as Black Americans. The hair texture is the same hair texture as the Black Americans. We can see some people sword fighting in the background, but apparently they're not fighting. They're likely not fighting to the death if they don't have the attention of the people in the foreground. See, so they must be sparring. We're in a tropical area. You can tell by the trees and the fact that they don't have much clothing on. Port. Uh, 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 okay, let me just move on. I was going to pronounce this word, but I don't want to butcher the word. Um, like I've done some other words. Zooming up on these Africoid, Americoid, Australianoid individuals, looks like Black Americans. This garb right here is kind of interesting and different from, little different maybe from the other garbs I've seen. It's warm enough for people to have their shirts off and have um, their legs out. And I see a whole lot of these headdresses, head dressings. It's almost like they're wearing it very like often. Like a lot of these images have headdresses, which is interesting. I'm trying to figure out how you would wear that, on a daily, what looks like I don't know if it's on a daily basis. These people are wearing the headdresses, but it seems rather interesting. Okay, then we have here they're cooking. Where are you? Hold on, where were they here? Acapulco. Now it sounds a lot like another word, but but let's see. Okay, these people are cooking. More images of what looks to be Black Americans. Again, look at their hair texture. It looks to be curly, similar to what other Black Americans look like. Okay, this is in New Spain, so just south of North America in Mexico. So this must be in an area close to Mexico, if since it's since I since it's a similar page. It's what page is that? Well, I think it's close to Mexico because looks to be in the same area of the book. Okay, this is called New Hispaniola, Hispania, Nova Hispania, Nova Galicia. So New Spain, New Galicia. So New Spain, this is Mexico. And let's look at the people. Turban, feathers, bow and arrow, a nice fabric that goes on the pelvis and to the knees. This guy has some fabric that goes mid-thigh. This guy is holding a bird up here, and he has very little clothing on. So apparently it's a warm environment. And then you see the European has clothing that covers his entire leg, all the way. It covers all of his foot, all of his torso, all of his arm, except his hand, where his wrists start. Then a hat, a brimmed hat that blocks the sun from his face. You can even see that there's a shadow being cast from the brim onto his face. You know, just depicting that. Well, the clothing is different, but there's a reason. The pigment, brown pigment, can absorb and utilize sun rays for energy, whereas a pinkish, whitish pigment is not able to absorb the sun rays as efficiently and burns within minutes of being in the sun. What people call sunburns. The European get sunburns, or albinoids get sunburns. So the Europeans get sunburns, and they get sun cancer, or skin cancer, so they can't be in the sun. So that's interesting. The clothing difference. They're still in the same hot environment, but the European is covering every inch of skin. Not every inch of skin. It's covering all his skin except his hands and this portion, like his no. The only thing that's not covered is from his jawline down, because even the brim hat is covering his face. Okay. Mar del Zor, or Zur, or Sur, if I have that correct. V is the same as U, so ZUR. Water of the South, Gulf of New Espana. So this is the Gulf of New Spain. Look, here's Cuba, the Yucatan, the Gulf of Honduras. This is Honduras itself. Interesting. Okay, and apparently in this region that I was just, well, no. Yeah, in this region, because this is the same map. In this same region, that's where you find people who look like this, Black Americans. Okay. New Galician. So maybe like Galatians, Galatia. I don't know. Where are you? But this is a chief, what looks to be like a chief. Let's look at his hair texture. Oh my God, look at the skull and crossbones. Skull and crossbones. And I'm seeing these guys are begging and pleading with, or they're, putting their hands in this position here where the fingers are interlocked, almost like they're pleading, asking, begging repeatedly for something. Okay, you can see the hair texture is African or Africanoid or Americanoid or Australianoid or curly, right? I don't know if he has locks, but you can see his color is very dark. But this is my first time seeing the skull and crossbones, and so recognizing that that's what it is. Interesting. Okay, these are the people of West Mexico. Interesting. And this is also in the book that I mentioned before called The New and Unknown World. All right. Now, this image is in Mexico. Okay. It's in Mexico. And it's a very interesting image. A lot going on here. Look at this. I don't know what to say about the largest creature. Okay. Okay. He has the bottom half of what looks to be something like a goat. His stomach is a face. Okay. The hair, the headdress is of pluming feathers. He has wings. A very fantastical creature. Okay, and then you see up here, we see what looks like Black Americans in. Okay, look, this is a balcony. They have a balcony in their structures inside the inside balcony. That's pretty cool. So they're in the upper portions doing something. Here's fire. It looks like fire in these lamp pots. It looks like the fabric is beautiful, long or large fabric, huge doors, and I mean huge doors. Look how big those doors are. People fully clothed, some not fully clothed. A lot of different colors of garment, long flowing garments. Everybody they'll cover their loins, their pelvis. They'll cover the pelvis, but they're exposing a lot of flesh. We see turbans. This guy has a turban here. This one has curly hair. Here's another turban, feather headdress, turban with feather headdress. Turbans, interesting. Okay, this guy is prostrating, where he's laid out on his stomach with his arms stretched. This guy doing a similar type motion. I'm seeing people in it like bowing to some extent. Perhaps they're reverencing the image in the middle. We have over here and some more turban people with turbans and very colorful outfits. Um, let's see. Okay, we see that there's some trade being done, things being carried on the head. Here's a box with content in it being carried on the head, perhaps for the purpose of trade. Well, that's from what I've seen in when I travel out of the country. This is what people are when they have stuff. When I've seen, like, the image that's in my head is of people trading items. They have an open box so you can see that the content, and then they come to you. They take the box off their head. They sell you the content, and they put the box back on their head. Again, this is in Mexico. And again, the indigenous people being Black Americans, many of them having turbans, very interesting, feather headdresses, and curly hair. Oh, look at this. California. This is in California. We have an indigenous American adorning a European albinoid with a headdress, with feather headdress. It's very interesting. Okay, this is a woman here. Well, the man, there's an American man's giving the headdress to the European, but I'm seeing a woman over here to the left without a top. So her breasts are exposed, which is interesting. There was a lot of images where the women didn't have their top covered, as well as the men didn't have their top covered. But this is in California. So in California, we were still Black American. It's very interesting. In California, still Black American, even though it's close to Asia. The closest you're going to get to Asia is California, and what do you call this? The cold land, Alaska. But we're still dark brown in California. The same color, all the Americas. Now, this is a conflict, an armed conflict between the Americans, the indigenous Americans, and the Europeans. You can see people dying. The Europeans are using guns and making quick work of the indigenous people. You can see some of the indigenous people are retreating. Looks like some of the indigenous people have clubs and spears, which are no match for guns. Whereas this is in California. In California, wiping out the people of California. Okay, I'm not sure where this is, but you see again. Oh, this is the image I showed before. Curly haired people. Mar of the North, or Water of the North. So this is right in the Venezuelan area, right here. We got, and then here's the islands. This is curly head brown people as the indigenous people. Looks like Black Americans. Okay. I see Virginia right here. It looks like the word Virginia is about to be written here. This is the Gulf of Mexico. Now they're calling it. Here's Honduras. Here's Insula American AE. Okay, interesting. Okay, these people are curly haired brown people. Look at this. Look at this. Curly hair, brown people. And they like carrying stuff on their head, apparently, or they carry things on their head. Here's Virginia and Florida. Brown people of Virginia and Florida. You see, they're holding up the description, the indigenous people in the map. More indigenous people up here. Okay, you're pointing at something. Okay, we got some indigenous people, brown people with curly hair bathing. And it looks like men and women are in the same area. Okay, this is interesting. Those up. Let's see. Okay, here's Florida, I think. What does it say? Yes, this is Florida. What does this say? Orientalis. This is an L. Almost looks like an S too. Talis. Orientalis. I don't know what that means. I mean, I have an idea. the indigenous people, but I'm not sure where. And her no bras. Our women didn't have bras. Bras are a recent invention, to my knowledge. Where is it? Okay. See, this hair texture looks like her hair is straight here. It's interesting. Wait, I might have said the description. Okay, these are people in Virginia, Black Americans of Virginia, or the indigenous Americans of Virginia, which are also Black Americans. Okay, in this map, again, you see some Black Americans, curly hair, or indigenous Americans, curly hair. We see goat-like creatures here. Let's see if I have the name. Okay, this is the same. Okay, this is one page. This is the next page in the same opening fold. And this is of New Virginia. Interesting. Okay, this is getting towards the end. Again, one breast covered, the other out. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Let's look at the hair texture. His hair is curly. Her hair looks to be curly over here on the right. They seem to be very comfortable with their breast out. Okay, she's carrying, I would just guess maybe this is food, but I made that up. But it's only a few things she could be carrying. Here's somebody in a canoe. It's pretty cool. Okay, they're in New Netherlands. This is New York. The people of New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Connecticut. Look at this. These are the people of New York, the indigenous Americans of New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Connecticut. You've heard of the Delaware Moors, right? These are all Black Americans, very interesting indigenous people. These couple images have been from these images. The last number of images have been from the same book of Montanus. Okay, let's see, what are we looking at? Look at these braids. Look at the long braids. Look at that. Now he either has locks or braids. She has braids. A lot of detail in this etching. Very, very nice. A lot of detail. You can see the texture of the hair in an etching. Very nice. You see that the Europeans are blowing some type of horn. Oh, look, here's the sign for the Masons, right? Or is that two X's? For some reason, I thought it was a compass, unless it's two X's. Well, anyway, very interesting, very interesting. You see that the Europeans have significantly more clothing on than the indigenous people. And one reason, aside from in the cold areas, you wear a lot of clothing, now that they're in a warm area, they also have to guard themselves from the sun because they don't have enough pigment to absorb the rays of the sun and utilize it in a healthy manner. The sun destroys their cells, their skin cells, and their other cells, and form cancer. So they can't be in the Americas for too long, but they can if they use skin. How you call this? That skin cream that blocks the sun, sunblock. Very interesting image. Ooh, look at her hair. Did I figure out where they were from? Hold on. I didn't even read it. Okay, this previous picture. So this is in this etching, New New Guinea. Okay, this is Venezuela, Colombia, Guyana, and Suriname. Okay, and they're being depicted as Black Americans. Very interesting. These are the people of Peru now, and this is an image from again from the book The New and Unknown World. You see up here it says unknown something America, or I'm translating. Uh, uh, I I think this guy is naked, but yeah, look at the hair texture, locks. Does she have tambourines? Are these tambourines like you shake it and you smash them together? Those look like tambourines. That's cool. She's riding a bull. Interesting. Okay, this is the emperor, the last emperor of the Incas, I think. His name is okay, Ethabal Liba. Ethabal Liba, if I said that correct. Okay, look at him. Look at it. Okay, it's another etching. Gold plates, brown skin, the feather headdress. It's very interesting. Very nice too. If I had to guess, perhaps the color was added post production, right after it was made, since it's an etching. But very interesting. Okay, and this is of an armed conflict. I'm not sure where they are in the Americas, but you can tell that the Americans are losing this particular battle. As you see, guns are guns outmatch bow and arrows and spears. And very interesting. Is this like a smoke cloud? Like how they have in cartoons they fight and then there's like a smoke cloud. I think it's funny they were doing that back then in the 1600s. If I'm understanding this image correctly, looks like some of these people are meeting their demise. Headdresses and brown. It looks like they're losing that particular battle. Okay, this is in Peru. Okay, this is towards the end. This is an American woman. A picture, an older picture. Oops, older picture of an American woman, and then this here. This is the seal of Florida. So this is in. I went to, where did I go? I went to the first place that the Europeans landed, St. Augustine. The first place the Europeans landed in the North Americas, or in North America, was in St. Augustine. And this was in St. Augustine. This is again the emblem of, or no, not the emblem. This is the Great Seal of the state of Florida, where you see this was on one of those mile, or not mile markers. What do you call those markers? It's like a historic marker. And then they tell you all the history. Look, she is obviously a brown woman or a Black American. Very interesting. And I took this picture in person. And those are the images that I have so far, that's proving that we are the indigenous Americans. There's other images that I've come across. But I don't have all of them readily available. And I'm going to show more images. I'm going to show more slides to have a large amount of evidence that suggest and prove that we are the indigenous people of the Americas. And I think that, well, it is important, especially with all the travels that I do, and when I talk to these different politicians and different nation states about our plight here in America, I am telling them that we are the indigenous Americans, and I'm showing them proof. You see, it took me 3 hours to get through this information. So I have a lot of information, but I need more. A lot of the information that I presented today was from a singular book. A lot of it wasn't, but then a good portion of it was, and I need more information. So anyone who would like to share information with me, I am open to that. You can write in the comment section if you have any other proof that we are the Americans, write it in the comment section. If you have any proof that we are the Moors, write it in the comment section. If you have proof that suggests otherwise, that we are not the Moors and that we are not the indigenous Americans, put that in the comment section. I do want to know. I do want to know for certain and have evidence to prove and back my claims. Yes. Okay. If you haven't, make sure you like the video, subscribe. There's something new called hype. So do that. Hype the video. Like it, subscribe, and share this out with your friends and your family. And I'm coming up with an intro. I'm going to come up with an intro. The more I understand, the better I understand this technology, but more so, I just have to come up with an intro and record something. Maybe come up with a intro song. I do some pre-recorded advertisement that I can put in the video in the beginning, the end, or in the middle. And I'm growing on this platform. I'm growing in general as a content creator, and I appreciate you all following me and helping me push this message, because the message is very important. It is going to help the entire world. The indigenous Americans need to know who we are, and we're already the most influential people in the world. We influence the entire world, but we're also the only people we're the most influential people in the world, and we're also the only people without a nationality. And we need to have our nationality. We need to know for certain who we are. We need to state it to the world. The rest of the world needs to respect our sovereignty and treat us as if we are a sovereign group of people, a sovereign nation that will enjoy all the benefits that come with being a sovereign nation. So this is very important. All right. And with that, we're going to conclude this live. I'll be live again very often. I will start announcing it a little bit better. I just went live without making the announcement. So if you caught the live, thank you for coming through. And if you're on the replay, greetings. All right. And I will talk to you all soon. Let's see, we'll probably do another live, if not later today, then tomorrow. I'm going to start working on doing my lives at a certain set time. I was thinking about 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So we'll see. But yeah, follow the page. Just check back periodically. You'll see new videos. Check out some of my old videos, and I will see you back soon. Peace.